We're gonna be taking these pollinator plants, friendly for a California garden, and putting them in my little pollinator bed over there. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're planting a pollinator garden. And so the reason we're doing this is because I've got an empty bed over here, and the rest of my front yard garden is right now, it's dedicated towards edibles, and I want nature to do some work for me. So I want some beneficial insects in here. I want some bees. I want butterflies. I want to rebuild the micro ecosystem in my garden. And so that goes for the soil right here. I'm rebuilding my soil and working on the microorganisms that are within the soil, but I'm also trying to get some insect life, some butterflies, and that's what we're doing today. So what I've got here are some classic plants for, at least in California, in my zone, which is zone 10, for pollinators. And so I'm gonna go through the plants that I'm planting, why I'm doing it, and some of the info about those. So follow along with me as I put in what I hope to be a vibrant, beautiful pollinator bed over here that brings some beauty in my garden, but also brings some beneficials that will do a lot of work over in this section of the garden. Do some of that pollination for me, eat some of those bugs that I don't want in there. And so follow along, let's get to it. Good luck in the garden. The first pollinator going into my bed is lupine. And so this is what it looks like when it's fully grown. If you've ever been to New Zealand, it is actually a really popular plant that grows in the wild in New Zealand. And so I remember when I was in New Zealand, I found lupine, just massive fields of blue, white, yellow, all kinds of different colors. It's absolutely beautiful. But as far as a pollinator, it is in the legume family, which means it's going to be doing a bit of nitrogen fixing. And let's take a look. Full sun, hardy to zones 4 to 7. So it might struggle slightly in my zone, which is 10, but we'll see what happens. And then spacing wise, it'll get 15 to 18 inches. The thing that's interesting about the lupine though is you'll need to stake these guys because they can get anywhere from 3 to 5 feet tall for the smaller varieties and 10 to 20 feet tall for the larger varieties. And so 10 to 20 feet tall, not many plants except for trees can actually support their weight. And so lupine is the very first plant that we're gonna be putting in our pollinator garden. The next plants going into the pollinator bed are Zinnias. Wonderful flower. As you can see, this is the State Fair mix, so it's gonna come in a variety of flowers. They will self-seed for the next year, so you don't really need to worry about that. And they attract hummingbirds a lot of the time, as well as some other pollinators, but hummingbirds are great, especially in my front yard garden, because, you know, if you've got white flies or any other sort of annoying pest, hummingbirds can come in and make really short work of those pests. And I actually saw it earlier this month, a hummingbird just coming in and decimating an aphid population, just absolutely snacked on a bunch of aphids. And so what we're gonna wanna do, since I have 6 of these, they require full sun. We'll wanna plant them something like 18 inches apart or so, so about 1.5 feet apart. There'll be a section of the bed that's kind of just dedicated to these zinnias. And then we wanna do probably about, let's see, 30 to 36 inches tall. So they're gonna get about 3 feet tall. Gonna be a really cool section of the pollinator garden. So I'm really excited for these zinnias. The next freakishly large plant for the pot is Yarrow. So Yarrow is a classic pollinator beneficial insect garden plant because it's gonna attract predatory wasps and hoverflies, both of which will decimate the bad pests in your garden. It'll attract bees and stuff like that too, but you know, this for me is a beneficial insect attractor, and also I'm really just a fan of how Yarrow looks. These little flower heads, if you want to call them that, look absolutely beautiful. This in particular is the new vintage red variety, which I'm not really used to growing a pure red yarrow, and so this is gonna be an exciting one. This will grow pretty large. It'll grow something like 12 to 14 inches tall, maybe a little taller, honestly. I've seen yarrow that can grow quite a bit taller than that, and we'll wanna space this about 12 to 14 inches away from the rest of the plants in our garden. Final plant that we're doing right now is the pincushion flower, also known as scabiosa. And so you can see it's called that obviously because when fully formed, these flowers look like a little pincushion. Maybe a pincushion for our little bee friends to sit on. So this is gonna be a wonderful one. It grows not much taller than this, so maybe 12 to 14 inches, maybe 1.5 feet at most, and it'll kind of clump and spread. And so once it's established, it doesn't need a whole lot of watering, and will kind of just flower throughout the entire year, especially if you live in a milder climate, like maybe anything from zone 7 or above. You're gonna be able to just grow this year round, and it's gonna be a wonderful, wonderful flower for your pollinator garden. There we have it, guys. We've got our pollinator bed planted. Of course, this is just the beginning, and it's going to establish itself. I may add some more plants, but we've got the lupine in the corner. That's the one that grows the tallest, and so I'm gonna use the fence as some support, and we'll see how that goes. I just didn't want it throwing any shade on the rest of the garden. We've got a little 6 stack of the zinnias. We've got the yarrow right there, and then we have our pincushion plant right there in the corner, so that can kind of spread out amongst the rest of that corner right there. So I'm curious what you guys think. What kind of things have worked really well for you as far as the pollinator garden goes? Let me know in the comments down below. If you want more stuff like this, hit subscribe, hit like, share with your friends, and then there's that little bell, that little notification bell. Hit that bell if you want to be part of the gardening squad, the first people to see these new videos when they come out. All right, until next time, good luck in the garden, keep growing.